So I've just taken all the weights off the floor. I've lifted the bed frame back in. I'm going to be sending it tomorrow for solar panel and roof vent installation, which is represented by masking tape at the moment. I'm also going to get the exhaust pipe for the diesel heater installed at that same trip. And the reason I reinstalled this was simply to find out exactly where the diesel heater would go. So I masking taped off the bounds. And funnily enough, the way this exhaust pipe is, if I have it halfway down the wheel well, it looks as though I could actually suddenly one day decide to move the diesel heater to the back here. Problem with that is that the hot air comes out under the bed, and I'm wanting it to come out in a place where it'll rise more quickly into the interior of the van. So the floor is now glued down with insulation underneath, and despite what I saw in a number of YouTube videos, it's reasonably good at not doing this. This one place is doing it. So I do have to attend to that. Possibly some supplemental gluing. Sometimes people have to resort to drilling a hole in the body and using a bolt to keep it down. Anyway, little gray now has a floor. Little gray got surgery. 2 roof vents and a solar panel. I kept the little panels of painted metal that came out where the roof vents went in, but she came back with no leaks. So at this point I have run electrical wiring as well as soundproofing the roof, and what's going to happen now is I'm going to insulate the one remaining panel as well as the ceiling. Then we're ready to put the final top on the roof. Then I'm going to be installing lights. They're going to be surface mount lights with switches built in, which makes everything much easier. And then the diesel heater is now permanently installed, i.e. it's bolted to the floor, so I can now drive with it in. And the bed will surround it, and then I just have to hook up the heat vent when I put the paneling around the inside of the bed where it folds out to be a eating table. Is it 11 and a half?
No, we have 2 fans in.
They wind themselves up to open the cover, and they have 10 speeds, and they can blow air in or suck air out. There's 2 of them, and they're controlled by remote, and they know the remotes work with the correct fan.
So then they will be powered by solar panel on the top.
And
right?
the solar panel will charge battery, and the battery will power the fans and the light.
Kaya wants to come out too. You want to go with Dad? He's over there. Waiting with the dinner. You want to go? Come. Yeah, say hi to your dad. I was here behind you, and then she was at the gate waiting for come out.
Yeah, I guess now the big job of packing up.
Okay,
So I've
packing
done
up.
the insulation, so that task, just have to let that last bit dry. little gray blinking her eyelashes.
Yes. I would like have a tongue and glue go across, but we don't want to lose any height because tongue and glue go over this, and we'll lose some height here. My dog.
Okay.
I think it is gonna work because this one we can see this height here. Otherwise, that tongue and glue goes from the front to the back, and it will cover this. We lose some height, right?
You would even start banging your head, maybe.
Yeah, I don't want to bang my head.
No.
So then we just keep this.
So that is the board that I bought for the floor and then wasted. So this is a test piece that I cut out. I mean, it's not just a test. If I glue it, it's there. Just to prop it up and ask Jenny what she thought, and she immediately said no. And then when we established, she thought the tongue and groove would go crossways, and I said it doesn't bend that well.
I thought it goes this way.
No, you can't bend it that well. And we certainly don't want to have yet another inch lost. So she's now thinking, given that this does appear to cooperate, and you can't really see it in this video, but that is actually being forced to contour to the roof of the van, and it's doing a rather nice job. Right, Kaya? Are you worried about headroom? Not in the slightest. So, I put up a section of roof, and Jenny and I kind of like it. We're thinking we'll paint it light gray. And I've also put insulation up in all the sections between the beams, right the way along the roof. The roof was something that was stressing me, and I feel much better now that I've seemed to have a solution. Last night I had 3/16 plywood across that front section of roof. When I came out this morning, all I wanted to do was to connect up the antenna that I disconnected. There's a little cable up behind that post in the corner, and I had to connect the antenna for Little Gray's cellular service plus AM/FM radio, and the roof fell down. So I called the LePage glue helpline, and they said, "You're not supposed to use glue to put stuff on the roof, it won't hold." And I said, "Oh, well, what glue should I use?" And they said, "Don't glue stuff to the roof." So I asked them a couple more times just to be absolutely reassured that I had heard the bad news and that it was as thorough as I thought it was. They did not sell a product that would work in this situation. So, back to the drawing board. It's cut out, it's the right shape, there's some dry glue on the back. I just have to figure out how to make it stay there without putting a whole pile of lumber all over the place to screw it to and bring the roof down so that I can't stand up anymore in the van. So, gotta put my thinking cap on and try and be creative. I was surprised to find that Kaya has chosen which door of the van is her preferred exit door. I thought it'd be the sliding door, but she's chosen the back door. Well, slight update. Today was the big day when Little Gray got brought in to have her solar panel brought through the roof because it was a question of where, and so I've determined that. And I'm doing something very naughty, although the reason for not doing it this way isn't a problem. I brought the connectors for the solar panel in through the roof. I wanted to minimize the distance of cabling and not have extra up on the roof, so I made sure it was all like pulled all through, and it connected here. Now they said the reason you don't do this is because if you put in another solar panel, you got to rip out your ceiling to get to the connectors. So the easy answer was I won't have the ceiling cover the connectors. As you can see, they're big enough that I can't have the ceiling cover them because our ceiling has to be really thin because I'm so tall and it's a mid-height van. So just to show what it looks like up top, so our little gray has a, oh, it's crooked. I'll have to fix that. Little gray has a, that's actually a plumbing vent cap, but it's way easier to use for putting cabling in. And of course, if it works for plumbing, it works for electricity, in that you don't have a lot of stuff come in. Now, air could come in, but I'm gonna put insulation up inside her. So that'll be fine. Anyway, back to this. I ran a conduit through this beam to carry the cabling. It comes out here, it goes back in there, and unfortunately, well, there's actually conduit cover that goes over all of that wiring that came with the vehicle. I'll just have to put it back. And there'll be a tiny bit of cabling showing, but no way to get around that. So the cabling comes out here. That's approximately, on this little board that's mocking it up, that's approximately where the controller will go, so I'll connect to that. This cable for the lights used to go all the way along, hanging from this beam, and it was in the way of everything. So I took out all the lights and reinstalled one of the grommets there. So now the connector's there, and the lighting comes up and goes in that grommet there. And when I put the roof in, it's gonna kind of go like that, so that all we have is a tiny, tiny little bit of furry right there showing. That's minimum I can do. I thought of putting it up through that, would have been great, but nope, can't get any of the connectors through the little hole that's up behind that opening. And I tested it, this all works. These LED lights work fine. So the wiring I have here is for lights I have on order that I get delivered today, which I'm going to put on the ceiling after the ceiling's installed. Now it looks like this section of ceiling's installed, but it was actually a proof of concept to see if this method would work, and it did. So I've taken this beam and put it, and it's actually bolted in to this frame. So it's not going, it's not piercing the shell of the van. And it's bent because of pressure, but you can buy warped ones in the store. I'm gonna have to go back and select some warped ones if I need more of these. Anyway, it is now holding up our nice little ceiling, which we think we're gonna paint all of the ceiling white when we're done. So actually I've pulled down all of the conduit cover all the way around the back half of the van. See, there's a piece of conduit still there over the door. And the reason I did that partly was because of putting in roof, and partly because of threading wires that are going to go through the conduit, like 2 more wires here, one to the fan and one to the light that's going to be mounted at the back of the vehicle.
What are you doing?
Well, these are the dual batteries that come with the van. So if you look under here, there's the back battery, and that's going to power everything that we run when the vehicle's not running. And this is the battery that starts the car and then can also run all the electronics that comes with the van. So this is a big circuit breaker, so that the electricity that I take out of the battery, if we get any electrical problems, it will trip. Now this gadget back here, turn on, is giving the voltage of the battery right now. What it does is it allows me to control manually what the solar panel charges versus what the car charges, or I can set it to be automatic, and when I drive the car, it will charge where the solar panel didn't give enough electricity to fully charge the battery. And it always makes sure to charge the starter battery first and to never drain it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. A ring connector for the negative side. And unfortunately, they didn't have a choice. I couldn't get a black one, so I have to put a red one on a black wire. Somebody's gonna get mad at me someday for that.
Who? I don't understand this anyway.
What, red and black? Black is negative, red is positive. Yeah, I wish I'd had a choice of colors. Someday I might actually find the right color and then I'll have to cut this one off. There we go. Let's give it a bit more squish. There.
That's what I found very interesting. You're every day digging into this.
Under this seat, yes. What is under that seat? He digs into all the time. Where am I going to route this? Theoretically, yeah, it should go under this.
Are you gonna dig into the passenger seat too?
That's a heater.
So there's nothing to do with there.
Oh. Okay. Oh.
Is that anything happened on that?
No, not a thing. I think I might have the breaker tripped. Yeah, I did have on purpose, but wow, it's on. It's not charging yet because I haven't enabled that.
You mean the solar panel?
No, yeah, I haven't enabled the solar panel yet. But you have to power it up with the battery, and then you connect the solar panel. And anyone that knows solar panels knows that these connectors are always outside. And it's charging. Look at that.
The solar panel?
Yeah, it's not very sunny out, but yes, it is charging.
So the solar panel is charging the battery?
Yes. That's the one that I was running other options off of earlier today.
Oh, cool.
Lights and stuff. I've got a thing coming today by Amazon that goes here that has all the different fuses, and then I take all the wires from the lights and fans and connect them, and then connect the circuit breaker set to here, and then we're finally actually, like, it's all wired up. So then all that's left is to actually build my final cabinet and mount everything permanently on it. This is just temporary.
Okay, it's lots of wires.
It's a lot of wires. While I'm waiting for my fuse panel to arrive, I just took the whole bunch of cables for lights and fans that I twisted together and was running off an external battery for a while, just so I could work in here. I took them and connected them, and the solar panel is charging the battery that is under the seat. It's the far one, is the one that doesn't start the engine but powers everything. So it's charging it, and off the battery is running one of the fans. It's turning a lot faster than it appears in the video. If I want to turn the light on, I have light, and it's all being powered because the solar panel is connected, and so the little diagram on the solar panel controller says that the solar panel is feeding the battery, which is charging, and that is powering the load, which is represented by a light bulb. What I did, ready to put up vapor barrier, I used mineral wool insulation because I could not find sheep's wool, and I stuffed it up. And by the way, I took a lot of precautions because this stuff is a lot more dangerous than the wool. Not as bad as fiberglass, but in installing it, it does have ability to irritate. So basically, I filled in this whole channel around this back end of the van. This will allow me to put the vapor barrier on this little thin roof section at the back of the van, screw it into place, and that piece will be done. So I had to take down the cover over the wiring harness, which is going to go back, and I had to take down part of the harness to get the insulation in, and that'll all go back, but the roof is going to go back first.
Ceiling is up, almost.
Yes.
So those plastics is just for the seal the
Vapor barrier. So I still have to finish off this piece, but it's just hanging down at either end here, ready to finish off.
It's for the insulation. All this stuff doesn't come out, right?
No, vapor barrier. So when you're cooking and there's all this steam coming off, it's inside the van, but we don't want it to get in between and stay damp in between the walls.
Oh, I see.
So I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do over here. Not just cabinetry, but even the electrical board. So I'm going to stick with this little temporary thing to hold everything. And I put the corrugated plastic panel up over this part of the van. It still has an insulating value, even though there's insulation behind it now. And also some soundproofing, even though there's Be Quiet behind it. So I decided to just change my focus for a bit. I'm running some more cable here. This is going to be for our fridge. So I finally got it up and over this beam and out here. And then I was going to go down this side of the door, and I just can't because there's this thing blocking the column. But I found that if I went through here, it went down. And guess what? It came out. So this is how I did it. I found the single strand of thinner wire that I'd been using for the lighting here, tied onto the two power cables. I was able to rattle and wriggle it enough that it pulled through. And so now I have the wires going along the conduit. So there's conduit like this, so it hides it. I'll be putting it back here when I finish the sealing here, the vapor barrier. But now this wire is going to run along this conduit all the way to here and then down through this column and come out at the floor here, because I think the fridge is probably going to go either in front of that wheel well or maybe right beside it. We haven't exactly planned all that out. Little Gray now has her fuse box, solar controller. Okay, small progress update. I have put on all of the molding where all the conduits are hidden. It came with the van, and I put more in it. And it now goes all the way around 3 sides of the van, and I got tons of cable in it, such as all of this and this.
So our light is on, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can turn this on?
Yeah.
Oh.
Aha.
This one? How do you turn on?
Other way.
Oh.
See,
This
that's all that's over the galley. See? Lots of light over the galley.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So this is all use the solar panel, right? Right now.
It's running off the solar panel, yeah. It's running actually also off the battery that the solar panel charges. So it's kind of dim right now. We're probably not getting quite enough current to charge to power all the lights. And if you turned on the fans, definitely it wouldn't be enough.
Cool. Okay.
No, I'm going to show you what's on the remote. These are pretty high-tech remotes. So that's the battery level of the batteries in the remote. That's the temperature up in the fan. Then it'll tell you what % speed it's going. Is the cover going up or down? And what else did it tell you? Is the air going in or out?
Yeah.
And then, like if you just press the power button, it knows, oh, okay, turn off the fan, close the lid, and seal it.
So you did all this insulation here?
All the crevices got stuffed with mineral wool.
And you're gonna do the front here too?
Eventually, I'm going to get to the door, I take that off, and it's actually already got a vapor barrier, so I've got to rip that off, put the insulation in, and put another vapor barrier on. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And across the other side from you, that bottom section has huge holes.
This one?
No, the front part.
This part?
Yeah, so that still has to be done. That'll use up a few bats. And then this stuff is all ready to cover up again. Oh, I got to put a vapor barrier on first, though.
Yeah.
And then cover it up.
I was thinking about if you take this off, you probably has some kind of a storage area. Maybe you wanted to put like...
It's actually all covered in plastic.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I can't put my soy sauce bottle there.
Well, we'll find a place to put your soy sauce.
Okay.
So now I've got the insulation and the vapor barrier in on the passenger side wheel well, and now I'm just going to put over this black corrugated plastic sound sheet that came with the van, and that'll end up being permanently the side of the garage. So I've installed the Be Quiet insulation sheet, which was intended for this wall. Cut it to the size, and then I can put plywood over top of that to be the interior surface. And I had to put little foil covers over all the little holes below where that foam rock wool wanted to come out. So I'm going to put the sheet of wood over this. Now what this is doing is giving me a little bit of use of that depression in the wall of the van. Most people would just board right over it, but I want to put my feet in it. It saves buying flares so that your van walls stick out farther, and then you can sleep sideways in your van. So I set up a trial piece of, it's either 1/4 or 3/16 inch plywood. It's really thin. It's floorboard. The idea was to put this against this double layer of insulation. It's basically an inch of insulation against the wall. The reason I put it there was so I could try to put my feet out against the other wall where I had another piece of trial board set up, which was a lot thicker, and I was able to lay completely straight. It was as long as I was. And so the idea was, if I leaned against this and the insulation was supporting it, would it feel strong enough, or would I hear a cracking and splintering of plywood? Well, I didn't feel any splintering, cracking, whatever. It felt like I was leaning against a piece of concrete.
You put the bed in again, and then you put all this insulations there. So only thing left, I think, it's just cabinets of all, right?
Well, let me finish putting up the walls. I mean, this is just insulation and a little tiny test piece. We still have to very carefully cut the walls to go in here.
Yeah.
And we can go camping after that. We can just put all our stuff on the ground. So I've got the vapor barrier up on one of the walls beside the bed. And the idea here was, because I'm temporarily leaving all that metal bare, just putting a board up in this opening, the vapor barrier had to be taken down in such a way that when the board was put over, I didn't see the silver around the outside. So what I was essentially doing was squishing the tape down around the insulation and taping it deeper than the insulation stuck out. So we will see if I see any when I put the board on. But anyway, I got to do the vapor barrier on the other side now. Although it's nothing special to look at, we now have insulated walls, but they're depressed to give me a wider bed. So there's 2 layers of insulation and soundproofing, and one of the insulation layers is actually a soundproofing combination with insulation. So these boards, the way I kept them in, fortunately it was self-tapping screws through an inner shell of the van, and this board, which uses the same bolt, same kind of bolt, keeps the top in, the bottom just screws right in, and it has to do with angles and where you could actually screw. So now the metal that's exposed here can stay exposed for a while. Obviously we need window coverings, but once we get our mattress, which could be as early as tomorrow, we will have a bed. So I guess I better get started working on the table that comes up now that we've done that project. Oh, and the solar system is charging both batteries. It's at 14.1 volts. It's been doing great current while I work in the sun. And of course, with the solar panel converting the energy, the van doesn't heat up as badly. So the bottom of the far wall, I have put insulation in, and I'm about to put the vapor barrier on. Plus I also ran the heater cable, the power cable, conduit where it goes past metal, and then it's going to go up to the board. I suspect someday I'm going to find that cable short, depending on how I arrange the top of that wall. I might have to order more cable and make a longer one. I also did the same thing to the door, but I forgot to film it. So the door, I took off the sound barrier. There was already vapor barrier under it, but it was hollow behind. So I took off the vapor barrier and stuffed it all full of insulation, and there was a lot of wires in there. It seemed too many to me. I think they wired in the bit where you can get an electric door closer. Anyway, it's obviously got the sensor to know if it's open, and the electric door lock is there. Anyway, there's a lot of wiring in there, and I stuffed all the insulation behind and around it. I already had to reroute the heater cable because it wouldn't reach when I had it going along the bottom. But that's the vapor barrier's in. So now let's put the board back on, and that project's done. So I've extended the control panel for the diesel heater up to the top of the solar board, or the electrical board. And so now we can control the whole thing from up here. And the beauty is that we'll now get the temperature elsewhere in the van than on top of the heater. Oh, look, it's 31 degrees. But anyway, it's actually going to light in a sec, which we don't want. So I'll turn it off. But it means that it will know what the temperature is at the top of the van. It's possible that at some point I may decide it should be mounted a little lower, but I don't know. So I had to run this wire from the side of the controller down here. It goes in the same conduit as the power cables for the diesel heater and comes out over here where the cables come out. And this little crevice, I didn't insulate it, I didn't put a vapor barrier, nothing. The air intake for the diesel heater is here, and I thought, well, it should take the air there, the cold air, and heat that. And in terms of vapor barrier, they say that at the very bottom here, the van is designed so that if condensation occurs or in there, it drains. And so you're not supposed to plug holes way down there. So we have our bed with its walls. The mattress is late. Oh, I'm so frustrated. We could practically go camping. And it's a Friday at 5. Wow, it's depressing.